Since the founding of the country, African Americans had to suffer from the exploitation called plantation. In the 20th century, terminology that describes the suffrage of African Americans have been changed from slavery to discrimination. The concepts were still similar. However, the situation was a lot different. Back then, African Americans simply experienced the contempt from white people. But in 1960s in America, the hatred and violence against them were prevalent in the entire nation. The new terminology, discrimination, allowed the Americans to legally torture black people, and even their lives were taken during the era of discrimination. As a result, many African Americans fought against the intolerable situation in many ways. This movement led many great activists, Martin Luther King Jr., Rosa Parks, Malcolm X, to represent and express their suffrage. However, they are not the only people who fought for their rights, but many African Americans in different fields also participated in the movement in their own ways. Jazz,
Clap your hands now, people, clap now. Clap your hands now, people, clap your hands. Clap your hands now, people, clap now.
Southern trees bear strange fruit, blood on the leaves and blood at the root, black bodies swinging in the southern breeze, strange fruit hanging from the poplar trees.
To explain the background of song Strange Fruit, there were a lot of cases of lynching blacks and had many victims in southern part of America. Strange Fruit can be the best example of the song that can criticize the white people lynching of the blacks. Strange Fruit is composed in October 7th, 1930 by a Caucasian teacher who was shocked by seeing a picture of two black people who were hanged by the white mob. Record company of black American jazz singer Billie Holiday had oppositions to releasing the song. However, after its release, it was spread throughout the United States and became the iconic song that informing the truth of tragic realities of black human rights. Noticeably, if we listen to the song, that we can easily find that the dead body hung on the tree was described as strange fruit, so that it makes listeners to feel uncomfortable. Because of these distinctive features of the song to point out the cruel irony of human nature, Strange Fruit was selected as the 20th best song of the century in Time magazine. Also, it was considered as top 50 recording from the US Congress.
Here is a strange and
Hip hop, come on and hip hop. Hip hop, come on and hip
since Strange Fruit in 1930, music became an effective method as a non-violent movement against racial discrimination. The mainstream of music in 1960 was jazz, and coincidentally, many jazz musicians in the era were African Americans. Many black jazz musicians in America expressed the unequal social status of black people and how the government neglected them. Their works became a trigger to incite many other civil rights movements, and moreover, their activity enabled the organizations to give monetary support for the unprivileged African American. Reflecting this social background of the nation, many jazz musics in 1960s covered the incidents regarding racial discrimination.
18 days after the March on Washington, Birmingham, Alabama, a bomb exploded in the 16th Street Baptist Church just before a Sunday morning service. 15 people were injured. 4 children were killed.
The Birmingham church bombing occurred on September 15, 1963, when a bomb exploded before Sunday morning services at the 16th Street Baptist Church in Birmingham, Alabama. 4 innocent black children were killed by white men who belonged to the KKK, as known as white supremacist hate group. Outrage over the incident and the violent clash between protesters and police that followed helped draw national attention to the hard-fought, often dangerous struggle for civil rights for African Americans. Moreover, American politician Eugene Bull Connor, who was notorious for his willingness to use brutality in combating radical demonstrators, union members, and the blacks. He had an intent to incite racial hatred because in the 1960s of America, showing hatred expressions towards blacks was considered as natural, especially in the southern part of America. Some people might wonder what is this background music. To explain, John Coltrane released a song called Alabama, which makes blacks to overcome the racial hatred, also commemorates the victims of Birmingham church bombing on September 15th of 1963 in Alabama state. Not only that, John Coltrane's song Alabama highly contributed to develop black people's interest and spirit to overcome the racial hatred by having a significant reform, Civil Rights Act of 1964. As consequences of it, Birmingham church bombing not only affected black people to have its turning point on the human rights movement, but also impacted Congress to pass on the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which was considered as major constitutional development to provide much more rights and protection to African Americans. Ultimately, Civil Rights Act of 1964 highly contributed to the end of racial segregation and discrimination in the United States.
Units of the National Guard have been and are now being mobilized with the mission to maintain or restore the peace and good order of this community. Advanced units are already on duty on the grounds of Central High School.
Little Rock Nine. The Little Rock Nine were a group of 9 black students who enrolled at Central High School in Little Rock, Arkansas, September 1957. The school used to be a white-only school. However, the 9 students were able to enroll the school as a result of Brown versus Board of Education, which is Supreme Court declared that segregation in the public schools unconstitutional. The governor of Arkansas, Orville Favis, called in the National Guard to block the black students to attend the school. Later that month, President Eisenhower sent the federal troops to escort the Little Rock Nine into the school. The attempts to block and protect the black students in the white society aroused the national controversy.
Oh Lord, don't let them shoot us. Oh Lord, don't let them stab us. Oh Lord, don't let them tar and feather us. Oh Lord, no more swastikas.
The song you hear now is Charles Mingus' Favis Fable, to criticize the racist decision to Orville Favis. The song was initially forbidden by Columbia Records, which was the Charles Mingus' former company, and he released the song after he moved to another company and added the sarcastic lyrics. After the song came up, It became a theme song for civil rights movement among African Americans. Charles Mingus was invited to perform on Carnegie Hall by Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, and the money collected for the performance was used to support the civil rights movement. Historically, musics were a very effective weapon to fight against injustice by not killing people. Jazz in 1960s was a symbol of peaceful and powerful movement to solve the national-wide issue. The concept of this musical power to change social issue has been passed down until today. Recently, Childish Gambino released a song This Is America to satirize many social issues in the nation, including racism. The tactic he used in his song was very similar to those of John Coltrane and Charles Mingus. Sometimes music is not merely entertainment, but it also reflects the public opinion about the society.